Boring breakdowns, we can gather a lot of information about Wilder Fury 2 just by watching the first round. Now, a lot of folks, when they talk about this fight, they discuss the micro strategies that brought about the stoppage. Tyson was pressuring Deontay Wilder. He was able to take away Wilder's big right hand. And look, all this is good and well, but there's a lot of micro details behind it that were allowed Tyson to do what he did in terms of the pressure and eventually had him get the stoppage. So we're going to discuss more of that in this breakdown. We're going to get through as much of this as possible. We're going to start discussing Tyson's defense, then his offense. And if you guys stick around to the end, there's one more topic if I do scroll down. So sit tight and we will get to that at the end. So let's first start with Tyson's parrying. Now, in the first fight between Wilder and Fury, Fury was showing a lot more head movement. He's going to go for a much more basic defense, which is the parry. So let's go ahead and watch. Wilder is going to throw the double jab. He's just going to use the rear hand, reach out, catch that first jab, and then catch the second. Now, this is a very unsexy defense. Most of us learn this from day one. Why is this so important in terms of the pressure game plan? Even though Wilder is able to fully extend the jab, he's a good bit closer to Fury. Now, in the first fight, when Fury opted to slip outside and bring his head right here, Wilder had a lot more room to come down with that right hand. Here, Wilder is a little bit more jammed than he would like. And how do we know this? Look what happens. He pulls and gains some distance after that double jab. So while the parry may look inconsequential, it played a big role in cutting off some of that distance and choking the right hand of Deontay Wilder. Next, we're going to discuss Fury's lead arm blockade and control. So here we see Wilder opt to throw the low jab. Off of this, Fury's going to use the rear hand to parry. As he does this, he controls the distance and the head positioning of Deontay Wilder right here. What does this do? Makes Wilder immediately back out of the control. Let's look at another example of the lead arm staying active from Fury. This next example, we're going to see Fury use the lead arm, this time as a blockade. So a blockade is simply a barrier which is stopping Wilder's right tool from getting in. Let's watch. Wilder starts offense with that jab. Fury's blockade comes up, and notice how he uses that lead hand to big brother Deontay Wilder. Notice what happens right here. His face gets jammed. Then on top of that, the right hand gets blocked and instead deflects off of the tricep, the shoulder area of Fury. Next, we're going to discuss Tyson Fury using pawing to discourage Wilder's offense. Now, in order to throw the right hand, Wilder needs a good bit of room. He sometimes uses the double jab to understand his range, create that range, and then throws the right hand. What does Fury do to respond to Wilder using that lead hand? He's going to paw back. Now, why is this so important in terms of taking away the right hand of Wilder? Notice this subtle forward pressure right here. If Wilder is using this lead hand to check the range, the lead hand range check ideally wants to get at least slightly close to the target. But if now the range check is getting this far from the target, it's quite difficult for Wilder to use that range check to set up the right hand. So essentially, Fury, while putting this subtle pressure forward and subtly making Wilder have to retreat, he's also keeping Wilder too far away via the pause. By the way, how do we know that Wilder probably wanted the right hand after these pawing motions right here? Let's go ahead and watch. In just a few seconds after the pawing sequence, we're going to see Wilder opt to throw it. We see the pause. Fury has the... Wilder throws a jab. Fury's able to defend because of the space. And then we see the right hand that is short for Wilder. Now that we've discussed the defensive elements, let's go ahead and check out some of the offensive elements that help take away Wilder's right hand and help put the subtle pressure on Wilder. So first is the hook threat. Now the hook threat doesn't necessarily have to mean a hook that lands and threatens Wilder. It can, even in this case, be a hook that is just shown to Wilder that makes Wilder react. Let's go ahead and watch. Fury has the center of the ring. He's going to base down, open that lead hand, and just show the hook. What does this do to Wilder? Makes him take a step back, pull his head out of the way. Now, why is this so important? If there is the threat of a hook coming to the right side of Wilder, he has to be very careful about letting that right hand go because he might need to pull back or at the very least have that right glove up ready to catch the hook from Fury. Let's watch another example. Here we're going to see the hook with intent to land. Notice Fury's lead glove is a little bit lower. He's going to step in and throw that hook. Now, notice where Wilder's right hand is. A little bit low right here. He wants a right hand of his own, but it's a good example of why he has to be a bit more tentative as he goes forward, understanding, hey, that left hook from Fury is a threat, and I need to take care of that instead of only thinking about throwing my right hand, as we see in this case where he does get touched. Next, we're going to discuss the rhythm of Fury's shots. Now, normally we see a predictable rhythm being 1, 2, 3, right? Now, you don't have to necessarily have a higher rate of speed, but you can have a faster rhythm being, instead of 1, 2, 3, you can have 1, 2. And this is what we see here in Fury's offense. Now, one interesting little note, notice how the lead glove of Fury, just like in our last example when he landed the hook, the lead glove is a little bit low. Now, we are programmed to have vision and the focus of our vision where we are looking, but obviously we all have periphery. The lead glove, if it starts below the periphery and it launches into a hook pattern, it can sometimes hit before the opponent registers it into his periphery. So it's a sneaky little way to land a hook. Start with it really low, pick it up as you're throwing towards the target, and by the time it enters into their periphery, they have much less time to react. But that's all besides the point. Let's look at the rhythm of Fury's offense. 1, 2. Notice not too terribly much time. Let's go ahead and pull that back. A slowed down look at this shows left hook, and notice the glove is still very close by as he lands the right straight. Great work, not necessarily using a higher speed, but a faster rhythm to land offense. Now, the last offensive element from Fury that helped get him this win, helped with the pressure and helped to take away Wilder's right hand, was the feinting. Now, the feinting is really important because it's markedly different from the first fight. Fury, in the first fight, was trying to stay on the outside and keep that distance. From a farther distance, let's imagine Fury is all the way out here. Even if he has a perfect feint, Wilder understands that there is too much distance for him to worry about a threat. In this fight, with Fury constantly pressing forward, landing a good bit of offense, and understanding that Fury was pushing him back, now when Fury initiates a feint, it's going to have a much more serious effect on Wilder. Let's go ahead and watch. we see dropping the hand, slightly opening that lead glove, and feinting with the chest. What does this do? Immediately, Wilder brings that guard up and backs up. Let's watch one more time. Level change, open the gloves, and immediately we see that jerking motion from Wilder to slightly bring the gloves up and step back. Again, why are the feints so effective? When you condition your opponent with legitimate offense, with legitimate pressuring, the feints are going to have a much, much higher and more serious effect on the opponent. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. And as a token of appreciation, here is the last topic, which is footwork. So the bucket footwork was super important in terms of the pressure on Wilder throughout this fight. Let's go ahead and watch. Now, you guys may have different names for it, but the reason I always call it bucket footwork is coming up, one of my coaches said, it's like your rear foot is in a bucket of concrete, so you can't really pick it up too much. You just have small slides of that concrete bucket as you move forward. Where is bucket footwork so important? When you're stalking, you don't want to take gigantic steps because you still are getting closer to a very threatening person. So when you stalk, you want very, very small, subtle steps that are usually stepping with the lead foot and small slides up with the rear foot. Let's go ahead and watch. Small slide. Fury steps. Notice what this is doing to Wilder. He has to understand and respect the range where Fury can start throwing, so he is taking these small steps back. Notice it's not just the feet. Fury is using the lead glove activity. He's using these feints right here, all the while backing Wilder up. This here is one of the foundations to being able to pressure opponents. This, in conjunction with all the offensive and defensive elements, is what, from the very start, from round one, notice right here, we're still in round one, set the pace, set the tone, helped Fury continue to put pressure on Wilder and take away his most powerful tool, which is the right hand. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you guys wanting more of the boring details. If you guys do have any questions or comments on this study, please feel free, drop the comments below. And if you guys do like this video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and thank you so much again, guys. Boring Breakdowns.